Hi guys, it's Sandy here again from Salmon Fishing Holidays Scotland, and we are doing our roundup of what's been happening on Scotland's salmon rivers again. So in this episode we'll talk about weather, what it's been like over the last few weeks, and then what's forecast. Also which rivers and which beats in Scotland are catching salmon, and also where it has availability. So it gives you a chance to have a think about where you might want to go and wet a line and chase that elusive spring salmon. So let's have a wee think about the weather. So, March has been so dry. There's been very little rainfall. There's been small lifts in some of the rivers in the Highlands, but really not much rain to speak of at all. In the central belt, rivers have been really low for the time of year, really down to summer level. So many rivers have been struggling with water height, and that's at times made fishing tough. And when you combine that with the sort of last couple of weeks, when some days when it's been really bright and sunny, coupled with low water, it's been hardly conducive for good salmon fishing. Looking ahead, I'm looking out my window here in Perthshire just now, and there's something that I've not seen for a while, and that is dark clouds. And there is a bit of rain forecast in the next couple of days, 2 or 3 days. I think it's going to be a bit heavier towards the west, and very little of this rainfall is going to drift over to the east. But there is a chance that there will be some lift in water on some rivers, especially maybe in the Northwest Highlands, and also potentially the Tay, because obviously the Tay is such a big system, and the catchment area extends towards the west, so there may be also a lift in water on the Tay. But as we all know, weather forecasts can be not hugely accurate, so we'll just need to wait and see what happens over the next few days. Looking ahead to next week, it's probably not news that you guys want to hear, but I think high pressure is forecast to establish itself again over the UK. Winds are going to be light, and I think there's going to be very little rainfall next week as we head towards Easter. But again, as we've just mentioned, weather forecasts can be fickle, and we'll just need to wait and see. So let's start off in the Scottish Highlands. Great news, finally on the Thurso River. So this week there has been the first fish of the season caught from the Thurso. The fish was caught on beat 13 in the weedy pool itself. It's taken a while for the first fish to be caught from the Thurso. But again, it's because river levels have been so low. So all the rivers in the Highlands have suffered, well, a vast majority have suffered from low river levels and really quite a dry March. So hopefully there will be a lift in water with this sort of rain that's been forecast that I've just mentioned, and that would really kick-start some consistent sport on some of the Highland rivers. Moving further south, it was good to see a fish caught on the Helmsdale earlier this week. And again, river levels on the Helmsdale, just like the Thurso, have been low. And fingers crossed, there will be some rain and a good lift in water. I think, a 4 or 5 inch lift in water is not going to make a huge difference for these Highland rivers. I think a good spate is really what's required. Moving further south, if we think about the River Spey, so the River Spey at the beginning of this week did have a lift in water, maybe about a foot and a half, but then it dropped away pretty quickly. Catches on the Spey have been reasonable, so there's been fish being caught down, really I would say from Aberlour downstream. There's been a few fish caught, and the beats further down, so beats like Orton and the Braywater have been picking away, and the low water through March has really suited these beats. So there is some nice fish being caught of the Spey, not masses of fish. You have to take into account it's still late March now, going into April. There's good availability on the Spey. So there's availability on the Aberlour town water and also on Grantown Angling Association. And Grantown actually had a fish a few days ago, so that shows that the fish are gradually moving upstream. But again, further upstream, these beats would benefit from a decent spate just to shift some of these fish that are possibly lying further down up the river. So yeah, there's a few fishing opportunities on the spey, and you know, Easter time is a great time of year to be on spey side. And yeah, absolutely, if you're looking to fish the river spey, there's some options there. Moving over towards the Dee. So the Dee has had low water for quite a number of weeks now. There has been the odd fish being caught from the River Dee. But again, just like the many Highland rivers, the Dee could really do with a decent spate. There's not been a big lift in water for a number of weeks now, and this would hopefully encourage, if there's anything sitting out in the estuary, to come up. Notable things are that in the last few days, the park beat had its first fish of the season, which was really, really good to see. There are a few fish being caught, mostly sort of from a buoying downstream and centred around the sort of Bankery area as well. There's really good availability on the Dee up and down the river. So, you know, the Dee's a great place to wet a line, some lovely fly water. I think, you know, if there was a good lift in water, then there could potentially be some good sport to be had on the Dee. The Northwest, I risk sounding like a broken record here, but again, river levels have been quite low for the time of year, and therefore, you know, catches have been down. However, beats like Canterland have picked away at the odd fish, and the Stracathro beat has also produced the odd fish here and there. Again, I think, like, you know, there's good availability on some beats on the Northwest. I think if there is a lift in water and this rain that is forecast comes to fruition, then, you know, there's potentially some decent sport to be had. Then we move to the mighty Tay. I'm just looking out my window here again, and I can see the Tay in the distance. It is basically at summer level. The good thing about the Tay is, because it's such a big system and it's multiple loch fed, that the river's hardly ever too low for fresh fish to run the system. And actually, some people think that, you know, when the Tay is lower at this time of year, often it's easier to catch springers, because if you're looking for that needle in a haystack, which you are at this time of year, that haystack is almost sort of shrunk down a bit. There were around 30 fish caught from the river last week. There were some cracking fish landed. The Middle River had its fair share of fish. I think the Murthly beats fished quite well and picked away. The quality of salmon caught were second to none. The Isle of Mouth beat, which is one of the most prolific beats on the river, also picked away. I think the low water conditions suited them. And it was also good to see a couple of springers caught from the Stanley beats. Looking at the tributaries, the Tummel also produced a few fish last week, and the dam at Pitlochry, so the Portnakraig beat, continues to produce one or two fish. So yeah, there are a few fish in the system. This week sport slowed down a little bit. We are still early in the week, but I think, you know, the low water, or the lower water coupled, it's been very, very bright here a few days in Perthshire. I think the low water coupled with the bright conditions have maybe impacted on catches. Looking ahead, there is some great availability on the Tay on some really, really famous beats. And the good thing, as I've already mentioned about the Tay, is that you don't need a massive lift in water. There's always enough water for fresh fish to run. So if you're looking to have a cast on the Tay, there's a good availability on the Middle River and the Lower River. So yeah, the Tay is always well worth the cast. And the great thing about the Tay, as you know, is that if you're looking to catch a big springer, especially at this time of year, you're in with a good shout on the Tay. Last but not least, we move down to the Scottish borders, and we have a wee think about the River Tweed. The Tweed is really, really low. It could do, sorry, again, I'm going to say this, but I sound like a bit of a broken record, but could do with a really good lift in water. There have been a few fish caught. I think I mentioned in the last episode that maybe beats on the bottom river would start to catch a few fish, and that has been the case. So beats like Ladykirk has produced some fish, and there have been one or two fish caught in this area. and beats on the sort of lower, sort of on the bottom of the lower river, so probably just above sort of Coldstream here. I've also produced the odd fish, so the West Learmouth beat has produced some fish in recent days. There has been the odd fish caught in the sort of Kelso area and above Kelso as well, but I think these beats could really do with a good lift in water. I think anglers are desperate for a decent lift. Again, there's good availability on the Tweed, up and down the river on some really nice beats, and I think, you know, if river levels don't rise, then it might be that, you know, beats on the bottom river would be potentially the place to go. But if you get a good lift, then anywhere really from sort of even like from Boleside down, so as far up as that, anywhere on the middle river and the lower river would be well worth a cast. So that's it. That's the Scotland's Salmon Fishing Roundup done for another episode. I hope that if you're going to wet a line on any of Scotland's rivers, that you enjoy yourself and you have a good chance, and hopefully you'll have a good chance of catching a fish. Until the next time, tight lines and may your rods be buckled.